Rest is as good as your performance. Welcome to Unbound, and I am Cynthia Nabwiri. This particular video starts us on a playlist called Worship Leaders. That includes singers, vocalists, musicians, instrumentalists, sound engineers, media team, pastors, and anyone who helps facilitate praise and worship in the church and in the marketplace. I have a question to us on a scale of 1 to 10. How much rest were you able to give yourself in 2025? The reason I ask that question is because to ask the audience or the congregation, praise and worship is something people show up on Sunday. But if you're someone who participates behind the scenes, we know it takes a lot of time because you have to practice. Then we have rehearsals, and that's Sunday we have to show up. How many Sundays are there in a week? One, right? How many Sundays are there in a month? How many Sundays are there in a year? So technically, every Sunday is blocked. You will come into church before everyone else, and you're most likely to leave the last people. On Saturday, you have rehearsals. Throughout the week, you have your practice, personal practice. And there are others who are not only musicians in the church. These people, by extent, they participate also in the marketplace with different musicians. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what number did you give yourself for resting? Remember, rest is as good as your performance. Some of the synonyms of the word rest are renew, recover, slow down, and repose. This doesn't mean you're not doing anything. This is simply you choosing to be intentional with how you spend time to recover and rejuvenate yourself. An example would be if someone were working out and they want to build muscles, so they go to the gym every day to lift weight so that the muscles can really come out. I don't think by them lifting weight every day is going to have the same effect as identifying probably the number of days in a week they can take in and say probably like 2 days I'll be lifting weights to help my body, considering the other factors that also contribute: diet, besides rest, maybe emotional regulation as part of some of the things that might help for the body to function well. But by them choosing 2 days out of 7 days and giving the rest of the week time for the body to recuperate, then definitely, over time, if they're consistent, they will see the muscle building. And it's in the same effect for us as worship leaders to really factor in rest as an important thing to consider throughout our routine. So rest definitely affects our body, our mind, and our spirit. So I'll try to look down my notes so that I really don't scatter my brain on this. I just keep it simple and short. So our body is our physical health. So what rest does to us, it grants us longevity, stamina, and grit to continue showing up. That could be through sleep, enough sleep, making sure that we have enough sleep, because generally music dictates that we spend a lot of time. Probably we are learning the songs, we are playing for hours, we are traveling from one place to another. So all of these things contribute to how we need to show up. And therefore, it's important for us to rest our physical body, because, again, it helps us to fight inflammation and stress, enabling us to give the best output that we have. An example is a vocalist. Your instrument is your voice. So in the case whereby your voice is inflamed, you can't sing. Or if you can, it won't come out like the way it would normally come out. Another thing, if you are stressed mentally, it's a given fact that you won't be able to hit some notes with so much ease as you would normally do. When you come to the mind, it is our mental health. When we're able to rest, it helps us with emotional regulation, which enhances having a good attitude. When we are good at our emotional regulation, it means we have capacity to work with other people. If we are not good with emotional regulation, you might be the difficult person in the team, and no one would want to have you near them. In fact, some people might choose even to volunteer you out of the team for some time until you've worked on your emotions and you have capacity around people. There's also the element of helping us reduce burnout and giving us the ability to show up fully. When an individual is burnt out, considering that burnout can also be out of you not doing what you're supposed to do, and that is where we have the God factor, where we can sit down with God and ask him, is this burnout coming from a place of maybe it's my time up because I'm not doing the thing that I'm supposed to do? Or is this burnout simply because I have overworked myself? Also, when we work on our mental health, it improves creativity and focus. That in its own cultivates a fun space to work. Creatives, I want to believe we always love an environment where there's a sense of freedom, there's a sense of experimenting, there's a sense of sharing ideas and seeing what works. And when we have not rested our minds, it's like we have a clog in our minds, and that can be such a limiting thing to even express that organic and authentic self through the art and the gift that we have. Lastly, what rest affects, which we've said is the spirit, that element actually touches on our soul health. When we are able to rest, when we are resting with God and in God, it enhances a deep connection with him. So, because he's the source of the creativity that we have, and when we are tapping in him, he allows us to see what he's doing for his people, and therefore we choose to partner with his direction and his ideas on executing with the gift that we have for whatever he intended for every individual in that room comes alive. It recharges our soul for purpose. We become alive. And it's like we have a born newness within us to just do the thing that he has called us to do with intensity, intentionality, with power, with prowess, because we feel refreshed in him. And lastly, it grants us a good attitude. When our spirit is full and wholesome, then our mind shifts on how we perceive even any difficulty or challenge through the preparation of executing what we need to execute. Therefore, I believe that rest has to become a strategy that every one of us chooses to apply. So we cannot be worship leaders who show up without any idea of what we are supposed to do. Because when we rest, we turn back to God and He shows us. When we rest, we get all the benefits that I've mentioned and many others which I might have missed to mention. You can write them down in the comment section. Don't hesitate. Yes. Therefore, it's the foundation of creating rhythm which helps us graduate to the next level of our growth. Hence, we cannot allow our energy to be depleted in any way. We cannot become worship leaders who are so focused on the performance, who are so focused on doing the thing, who are human doings instead of human beings, and forgetting that whatever we are doing must carry the essence of God. And this might require some of us to build boundaries and learn how to say no when we know we can't. I don't know why I touched on that. We have to be vulnerable and honest enough even to let our leaders know genuinely, not out of maybe a deceptive thought from the enemy telling you you can't do this. No. Coming from a genuine place where if you need to rest and the schedule of the church or the event is not giving you that room. Because remember, besides Sunday and probably being in the marketplace, the church also includes other activities. There are conferences, there are weddings, God forbid, there are funerals, and praise and worship always have to show up. Worship leaders always have to show up. Something to ponder. Something to ponder. You're always showing up. We are always showing up. And that demand is expected that we have to show up. Food for thought. And we have committed we will show up. However, how far is too far? And does rest mean I won't show up for one Sunday? Does it mean we change the schedule of who does praise and worship on which day? Does it mean I will show up on every Sunday? Yes, I will be faithful, I'll be diligent. I'll run to God to give me the strategy on how I can rest as an individual. As a team, how do we set up systems that will enable our team members not to experience burnout? Just thoughts to ponder. The scripture says in Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 10, if the axe is dull and the one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength, but wisdom brings success. Remember, everything we do as worship leaders, Whether you were pinpointed from the crowd by your leaders in the church to join the team, whether you were instructed by God to join the team, whether you volunteered, you saw a gap and you volunteered to join the team, whether you felt like, I don't know how to sing, but I would love to know how to sing, and you joined the team. One thing we must remember is that we are aiming for the long game. It's good to have hard work. However, we must understand that there are three things we want to communicate and represent as children of God. One is that we are efficient at what we do, meaning there's maximum productivity with minimum waste. The second thing is being excellent in what we do, that we are extremely good and outstanding, not only in terms of skill, but also in our spiritual walk with God. In fact, now more than ever, I believe the first priority should be our walk with God and God changing our hearts, because that's the greatest thing He wants from every human being, to be more like Christ in what we do. And lastly is effective in what we do. That is successful in producing a desired or intended result. That is being very intentional with what we can do as worship leaders and leaving the output to God, because it is His people, it is His meeting. We are simply vessels that are submitted to Him to bring heaven on earth through the gifts that we have. Today, the question would be, which form of rest will you begin to incorporate to your preparation routine? Therefore, I leave you with this. May His will be done upon your life, and may God grant us all wisdom in offering our gifts to His people and of His service here on earth. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.